Good afternoon, it's Monday and welcome to Saba's Way of Life. Today I'm going to talk about soil and compost. I'm in the garden all day. From a biodynamic perspective, it's a flower day, so I have been working on sowing lots of flower seeds, beautiful nasturtiums, calendula and marigolds, all which play a very important part in the garden. Apart from being edible, then certain parts of them being edible, the petals and so on, they're also great companion plants for your vegetables, which help to deter bugs and moths away from them and also attract beautiful wildlife. So everything works in harmony with one another. Now, I'm going to show you something first of all. So let me turn this around. Down here, I have a raised bed. Just incidentally, let me just show you my hens in my chicken run. They're always very noisy when I'm around because they want attention. So what I want to do is just dig out a section of the soil that's in here. And I'm hoping that we will find some worms, because it's very, there it is. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, there we are. There's some worms there. Can you see it? I don't know. Yes, there we are. So this raised bed, there's another one there. Oh, I don't know if you can see it. There we are. This raised bed is full of worms. And when you have a soil that's full of worms, you know you have a beautiful kind of like a humus that is rich in nutrients, which all your plants will absorb, and then that will nourish your body. Your vegetables are only as good. Oh, it's a shame. There's an aeroplane going above, and this is not really a flight path here, but it's choosing this area today. So your body is only as good. Your plants you eat and the vegetables you eat are only as good as the soil they were grown in. Do not be fooled by the aesthetics and how they look. This is a lesson for every other area in life as well. You have to take the responsibility to know the source of the food that you eat as far as you can. And when it comes to growing food, and if you have a garden and you're not growing your food, it's a huge mistake. It's a tragedy. It's a serious error when you know that today very little food that you buy commercially has any nutritional integrity. I don't have to even prove that point. Do your own research. I won't waste my time on proving that point. You should know that by now. So now I'm going to show you how I have built the compost heap. It's been 2 years now, and last year and this year I have been using my own compost. I still buy some sowing compost or peat free. Well, I've stopped buying peat free because that's a scam as well, but ericaceous compost for more acidic soils. So I do buy every now and again, but it's kind of being phased out here. I don't use it as much as my soil starts to nourish itself by the ecosystem that I've created. So let me turn this around. Right, you will see here the compost heap, and you can see the structure that I've built it with. It was with the help of a very good friend of mine. He's a builder. Let me just move this knee pad out the way. Right, let's look at it from this angle. It's kind of 4x4 square with pallets, and I just throw everything in here. Now, if you go online and you were to look and see how do I build a compost heap, you'll get heaps and heaps of information. And I've done that. I've gone online, I've done a lot of research, and I've got a lot of knowledge. I've gone on to the biodynamic websites that I can find to understand how soil is built from a biodynamic perspective, using the energy of the cosmos, and I've had some fantastic information there which I actually employ. But ultimately you've got to get started and not get too dogmatic about it, and that's what I've done. So I just throw, let me just go back, everything that I cook, because I cook everything at home, as you know, 99% of my food is homemade. Everything that I don't use in terms of fruit and vegetable and peelings, not meat. Meat doesn't go in here, otherwise I'll attract the rats, which I attract anyway, but everything goes in here. On top of that, I've got twigs, I've got straw because I keep hens, all of that goes in, grass cuttings, and even chicken poop that comes out. That goes into a separate Dalek, which you can see behind me actually. Can you see that green bin? That's where the chicken poop goes. The important thing to point out is I'm not thinking about what goes on top of what, even though I've read about it. I'm just aware in my mind that number one, grow your compost heap on soil where possible. On soil, so it's contact. It's got contact with the land rather than on a piece of concrete. Very, very important. I mean, it's a difference between night and day, in my opinion. Number two, just make sure you've got 70% of carbon material and 30% of nitrogen material. Now, when I say that, I mean, okay, let's say 70% carbon, 20% nitrogen, because there is another 10% here and there, but basically 70-30. Carbon material is twigs, you've got sticks, stones, straw, that's all carbon. Look it up and get a better perspective and definition of it. Nitrogen, which generates the heat in a compost heap, it's like grass clippings and chicken poop and other vegetable organic matter that you have in your kitchen that you're getting rid of. Those damn planes. So that's what you would put in. You just have to be aware of that. When you're aware of that and you're focused on that and you understand that, you'll find that you automatically do that. So for example, I have a lot of straw, I have hens, and the straw goes in there. Every single thing I eat, which is non-meat, goes into here. All my cuttings go into here. All the eggshells go into here. I don't worry too much. The other thing also I'm aware of is water. Most people, the biggest mistake they make with their compost heaps is they don't water it enough. So as you're building it, water it really well. If you've got a hose pipe, even better. We've had a lot of rain here, so that'll help it break down. And the other 10% or so, which I'm aware of, but I don't take too much notice of, is, well, apart from one thing, which is soil. Put an element of soil in there. When I'm emptying out my baskets, and emptying out pots from used up vegetables, I throw the soil into the compost heap because that acts as an inoculant, which then helps to decompose the rest of the organic matter much faster. And then there's the element of clay and lime, slaked lime. I've used that once or twice, but I haven't been too bothered because there's a lot of variety that goes into my compost heap. So what I'm trying to say to you is, do not be too dogmatic about it. Now this is what I want to show you. I have another section here, and I'm so sorry about these aeroplanes. We don't have it. It's very quiet where I live. They're clearly using this as a as a flight path today. So over here, look at this. I'm going to lift up some of this. This is all homemade compost. Now, what I do, because I don't have, I mean, it's just, look how rich it is. And I can tell you, there's a lot of movement going on in here. What happens is, once a year, if you can see this, once a year, a friend of mine, Ian, comes round. He's a good friend, a builder. And what we do is we take off 2/3 of what's on the top here, and the third underneath is beautiful compost, and that then gets shoveled out into this little section here, which then I use the following season. So I'll be using this very sparingly this year because it's full of nourishment. Yeah, ideally, if you've got a much bigger piece of land, you could have 2 of these sections where you can turn one over into the other, but I haven't, and I just improvise and do what I can. The fact that Ian comes over here every year, I'm lucky. I've got a very good friend who's a man of the land. We've been friends for many years, and there's an equitable exchange of energy. You know, he comes to help me and I sit down and I listen to him and I cook for him, and builders generally don't have a lot of people to talk to because they're out all day and people only ever want them for what they can do and their skill, rather than understand who they are. I'm one of those people that does talk and does listen and does spend time with people and try to help and offer whatever knowledge and experience I have, and he values that and I feed him and he loves that. So try to befriend people where there is an equitable exchange of energy between the two of you and you help each other. These tend to be skilled people of the land, tend to be much more honest, genuine people. They're not satanized by the technological society. I can go into that another time. The other thing I want to point out, because I digress, you can see where I've situated the compost heap. Up here you've got a tree, it's a conifer tree, It's not so close to the tree. I don't want it so close to the tree because the roots, which are behind the greenhouse, would absorb and steal all the nutrients from the heap. At the same time, I don't want it too close to the house because it's very, very messy. And at the same time, I need it to be able to absorb the sun. So it's ideally located right now because there's plenty of sunlight that hits it. It's next to the greenhouse, which means it's next to where I'm working with all the soil and the pots and the seeds and so on, and it's not too close to the tree. So think about where you're going to locate it. All right. Okay, that's a compost heap. Just a quick peek into the greenhouse, and you can see here how I've organised it all. I have got all my little trays with propagator lids on and everything is in there nice and warm. I've planted the sunflower seeds this morning, lots of different varieties because I want to attract a lot of wildlife here. I've got marigolds, nasturtiums, and you know I've got garlic I've done earlier, and I've got onions and leeks and tomatoes all there. So we've been very busy and it's only just started, as you know. There's so much joy working out in the garden. It's one of the best ways if you're feeling low or down, just really make it your project, and once you start and you get hooked, you will connect to a very different source. It's very meditative. You go off into your own wonderland, and you'll understand why so many gardeners and farmers just go out and love being on their own. You have a direct connection to your source if you're lucky enough to have the time to go out and really ponder. I do a lot of pondering, and I'd like to share a lot of those ponderings with you over time, which I will, and I've done a little bit, but I've only covered 0.001%. Anyway, these planes are really getting on my nerves, and I hope tomorrow it's a quieter day, but the sun is out, I'm not complaining, and I'm just enjoying the time outdoors. Have a lovely afternoon.